Good evening, councillors, and welcome to the July meeting of Norfolk District Council. Lovely to see you all here this evening. Before we go any further with the meeting, I've had the very sad news conveyed to me that a former chairman and councillor at this council, Clive Stockton, passed away this morning. So if you'd all like to join me, we'll do 1 minute silence standing up. Thank you. Thank you. Just a few notes before we get cracking with the meeting. I just want to make sure all members are aware that item 16 has been pulled from the agenda, so that will return at a future meeting. So no discussion on that this evening. I'd also just like to take this opportunity to welcome our newest councillor to the building, Councillor Wragg. Congratulations on your election. And councillors, we have got 2 birthdays in the room tonight, so a very happy birthday to Councillor Kevin Bayes and Nigel Dixon. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from Councillors Birch, Boyle, Fletcher, Housden and Netherway.
Thank you. Any more? Thank you. Minutes from the council meeting held on the 17th of June 2026. Is everyone happy with the minutes? Yep. Yeah. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Fisher, seconder, please. To accept the minutes. Councillor Heinrich, and all in favour? Oh, fine. Sorry. Yep. Good. Item number 3, to receive any declarations of interest from members. Nope. Items of urgent business, none received. Chairman's communications. So I joined the Lord Mayor of Norwich for his city service on the 21st of June. It was a lovely event. Fantastic service in the cathedral. Met lots of fantastic people from right across Norfolk. There was a big dragon that we followed in the parade, which was a little bit unexpected. And I don't know the story behind that. So if anyone does, please do come and educate me. But fantastic service, and thank you so much for inviting us. Over to Kim.
Right, this was, I got 2 hats on. One, I was supporting John at the Armed Forces Day, which is always a great event. But also I stepped in for Matthew because he was running a little bit behind. So I quickly got in the toilets, got my frock on and changed over to being the vice chair. And it was a great day. If you ever get a chance to go, it's really simple, but really nice. So met some great people and had a good time. And Matthew brought me an ice cream.
I did indeed. I did good cross-party work. There you go. No. Now, this was a special one. Same day, two engagements, one day. The 3 ladies that you can see in that photo there combined have contributed over 100 years of service to supporting brownies in North Norfolk. Absolutely incredible 3 ladies. We had a surprise celebration for them. There was lots of brownies there. There was lots of parents there, people that they have seen as brownies go up through guides and then have now got their own children who are in their groups. Well done to those three ladies. And again, thank you so much for inviting me. Again, with the theme, visited the first rural Rowton Scout group, which a fair few of our officers are members of that Scout group, for the start of their annual summer camp. I must say that the facilities there in Rowton are absolutely brilliant. You know, what Scout group has an old mill as their headquarters? It was great. So went to the top. Fantastic view across North Norfolk. They tried to get me to abseil. The answer was no. I'm not going down the abseil. But yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm sure all of the Scouts had a fantastic time that weekend. Kim.
A great event. That's all I can say. It was really good. Lord Mayor's parade. Never been to it all the years I've lived in Norfolk, and thoroughly enjoyed it. The picture there you see is the High Sheriff, who doesn't normally wear a football shirt. Yeah, great man, really fantastic personality, and his wife was lovely. The parade itself was really good, and it was great to see the different communities in Norwich. So it was very diverse and had a great time. And just for you to get a feeling of what it was like for me going in the parade, John is just going to do a very short demonstration of what he was doing all the way round. So yeah, great time. We were looked after and welcomed into the city. So yeah, very, very good. Me again. Oh, it's like winning raffle tickets. Yes, the next day we went off to King's Lynn, and again we were welcomed really well. Fantastic church, really has a lot of history. The service was lovely, and it was loads at different ages in service as well. So yeah, great honour to attend.
Thank you. That's the end of our communications this month. And thank you, Kim, for supporting me when I was a little bit busy through a few of those events. So thank you very much. Right, item number 6, leaders announcements. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I also wish to briefly reflect on the service to this council by former councillor Clive Stockton, who of course was a long-standing councillor here. I believe I'm right in saying former planning portfolio holder, certainly a familiar face to us all, avid readers of the previous local plan, certainly there every time we open that front page, and yeah, wonderful advocate for his community, certainly Haysborough. Brilliant publican as well, sowed a fantastic pine. And we're all very grateful for his friendship and service, and we certainly wish his family the best at this time. Thank you. And I also wish to add my congratulations to Councillor Ragg for his election in Suffield Park Ward. So of course, our team have dealt with a further election, and I congratulate all candidates for their efforts. And I will be certainly seeking a meeting with the newly elected Police and Crime Commissioner in due course. We've also obviously seen that further change in government and certainly some interesting cabinet appointments. We don't believe there will be any significant change in direction at this stage affecting us. Besides, of course, we're seeing the introduction of the number 10 North and the involvement that body, whatever it quite shapes up to be, is in its involvement in devolution. So we wait to see. Lots, of course, happening across the district with many upcoming summer events. I know Sol is particularly excited about one coming up next weekend. But of course, there's so many things happening across our community. So please, what I hope to be a quieter time over August, it doesn't seem to be going that way. It's been very busy for everyone. I really appreciate the work that you are all doing across the organisation, both member and officers. Do get the time to enjoy what our district has to offer throughout the year. But of course, we're still seeing very strong achievements across the authority, such as the work up to the point of delivery soon, in future, I should say, not soon, but there's certainly a big hole in the ground in Fakenham where we're building a swimming pool. There's all sorts of projects ongoing, which is exciting to see. That's enough from me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, public questions and statements. Now, we do have a public question. We've received a question submitted in writing from Mr. C. Buxton. I'm going to ask the monitoring officer to read out the question, which is for the leader of the council, Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. So a public question from Mr. Christopher Buxton. Can the leader of the council confirm what independent legal or governance assurance has been provided to members that the recommendations before council, particularly those concerning debt recovery, delegated authority, financial governance and constitutional changes have been assessed for legality, proportionality, compliance with the Equality Act 2010, including the Public Sector Equality Duty, the Human Rights Act 1998, principles of procedural fairness and members' fiduciary duties, and where members may inspect that assurance before being asked to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the monitoring officer for reading the question, and thank you to the member of the public, sorry, excuse me, for submitting it. So, of course, where reports come to full council, lead other committees, the report writer addresses financial, legal, risk, equality, net zero, and community safety issues, and that's set out in the reports. There's also a separate section where the monitoring officer and chief financial officer or a member of their team can comment on particular financial or governance considerations. The Constitution has, of course, undergone a review recently, ensuring that it is up to date. We have a Constitution Working Party that certainly leads on that work on behalf of the council as a whole. The council is subject to audits from an external provider, and these are reported to the council's relevant governance, risk and audit committee. Following a corporate governance review in April, which focused on decision-making and delegated decisions, the audit provided was substantial, being the highest available. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8. Now, just before we go to this, I've been asked just to remind members that we're only voting here on the updated committee seat allocations, not to the actual appointments to them. Councillor Adams.
I don't have anything necessarily to add in respect of the paper. I thank our relevant officer for doing the maths and working this out as usual. So in ensuring we are all above board in terms of our approach to the distribution of seats across the council. We've obviously got a new working party in place, or due to start, I should say, looking at planning policy and conservation, replacing the previous group. And obviously that's a reflection of the changes the government has introduced. So I'm presuming there are probably few, if any, questions on this, but I'm happy to propose the changes subject to there being anything I've missed out, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Rouse, and then all in favour, please.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Item number 9, appointments to committees, subcommittees, working parties and panels. Councillor Adams, start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to make members and council aware of two small changes in council responsibilities in that the legal and governance portfolios will now be separated from my own and delegated to Councillor Shires, my deputy. And in respect of the communications portfolio, similarly delegated, but to Councillor Varley from myself. And in terms of the local plan and conservation task group, my intended appointments are councillors Brown, MacDonald, Heinrich and Toy. Oh, I should say Kim Toy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Conservative nominees for the Local Plan and Conversations Task Group are Councillors Dixon and Councillor Holiday.
Councillor Punchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah. Bear with me. It is for the Local Planning Group, Councillor Patterson and myself as a substitute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other changes to any other appointments or committees or? No. Good. Item number 10, portfolio holder reports. Just a reminder that members may ask one question to a cabinet member on their reports and their portfolio areas. Who would like to start? Councillor Fitch-Tillett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everybody. Mr. Blaithwaite, can you tell me why you were not at the Wash and North Norfolk Marine Partnership last night? And also why you're obviously not proofreading communications that come out from your portfolio because there was no time stated for the Coastal Forum.
Unfortunately, I had another engagement last night. I'm not aware, actually, I received an invitation, but I will check and make sure that I send my apologies in retrospect. Thank you.
Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Stuart. I have a question for Councillor Adams, please. Councillor Ringer's report highlights the costs for harmonising systems for local government reform to create the new unitary authorities, which will cost many millions, money that could otherwise be spent on delivering services and housing. And I know from my own professional experience that migration projects are some of the most complicated and expensive that you can do. Our new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has stated that devolution is a priority for him to create the new mayoral authorities. Therefore, I'd urge Councillor Adams, along with all the other leaders of the Norfolk councils, to write to the new Secretary of State to ask her to scrap the disastrous local government reform plan and instead focus on devolution. An established mayoral authority could give a lot more options for local government reform. For example, you could look at a lot of the county-wide services and place those under the mayoral authority, for example, and therefore we avoid the catastrophe of splitting those up across Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Cushing. So I'm of course aware of the statements of Andy Burnham, and of course it's expected, given his background and previous role, the poster boy for devolution, I suppose. He has been, in terms of being the mayor of Greater Manchester for some years. My criticism has always been, well, how could he have failed with the amount of money he's received to do that, frankly? And will we receive that same thing in Norfolk? And I've voiced previously, I think there was something in the newspaper quite recently, actually, will we get that same arrangement? I significantly doubt it. But your question, of course, was about local government reorganisation. I'm not aware of any statements the Prime Minister has made in respect of that, and certainly in respect of local government reorganisation in Norfolk at this stage. Obviously, the reappointed local government minister has previous involvement in this respect. So I'm not expecting to see a change in approach. However, you know my position in respect of this already, that I certainly do feel that our efforts, our resources, our time would be much better spent on existing local government services, improving them and making the most of what we've got. I would repeat that I do think there is a good opportunity in Norwich, and that was the government's original mission statement, if you like, around city unitaries. I do think Norwich is constrained. I do think a lot of the housing and commercial development is outside of their 1974 boundaries, and it's affecting the way they're able to make strategic decisions. But for the rest of us, frankly, it's moving deck chairs around without really much benefit, moving them into a smaller, well, a very large room, if you like, in terms of the size of that authority. But actually the real term impact on our residents in terms of the quality of services, there's no real promise of improvement. And that's one of the things that really annoys me. I do think it will cost a great deal of money for, I think, outcomes that we won't really tangibly see. So I've always been a critic. I'll remain a critic. I'm an unwilling participant in the process. But we wait and see, of course, in terms of any statement. You've also asked about a letter. So I have already briefly been asked about signing a letter, and I've yet to see that, but certainly I will discuss with counterparts and my group when I receive that. Thank you.
Councillor Bayes.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to Councillor Adams. With regard to the street trading licence charges for the community events, would Council consider reviewing the current charging policy for two towns, Stalham and Holt, which are unfairly impacted by these fees? As you know, Stalham Town Council and the Stalham Area Business Forum organises a number of events throughout the year that support our communities, encourage visitors and help boost our local businesses. However, unlike most of the market towns in the district, Stalham and Holt are not exempt from these charges. The continued reliance on these archaic market charters determined exemption is widely seen unfair and no longer reflects the need of our communities. Given the current economic challenges facing our high streets and the importance of these events to generate footfall and support local businesses, will the Council commit to reviewing this policy and introduce a fairer approach so that all market towns in North Norfolk are treated equally and community events are no longer put at risk of being financially unviable?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Bayes. So I don't feel anyone is being unfairly treated. The street licensing policy and its previous iterations have existed for a considerable time. I couldn't tell you what legislation introduced those. But we have regulatory position to uphold, and the reason it's in place actually is to protect existing businesses in terms of someone coming along, setting up a stall outside, say a fruit and veg shop, just as it's the first example that came up into my head, setting up outside and selling cheaper fruit and vegetables than they are, and that's broadly speaking why these policies are in place. We're not seeking to, profit out of this in any way. Indeed, we can't. It can only be spent in terms of in the confines of the regulatory area. But what I would say is, obviously, it's very good to see that there is a will, a wish, and some energy around reintroducing some additional markets in North Norfolk. And we would certainly be willing to do that. I don't think we can justifiably review the policy, which there was a district-wide consultation on that. It went to all members. But there is potentially another way in terms of Holt and Stalham. So certainly Holt, I should first of all say, has the history of being a charter town. I'm aware they've found their charter at Kew now, but it is in Latin. So there's a little bit of an issue there in terms of reading that at the moment. But their best endeavours to do so, I'm sure, will yield results. However, there is a different way perhaps that we need to investigate in respect of introducing a market within the legislative provisions of the Food Act, which I think is section 50. I think parish or town councils can do that and essentially pass a motion, set up a markets policy, consult with the community, because obviously there needs to we need to ensure that your existing businesses are not affected in any way. Consult with the regulatory bodies, including ourselves, and of course the landowner, which the nearest to that in this case would be presumably the county council. So I think that's possibly the first conversation. Actually, it's possibly the county council in this respect, to ensure that they wouldn't have significant or ongoing objections. But I'm aware, of course, there's a few organisations of a public nature, but also businesses that are interested in this. I think in respect of that, it needs to be a local authority, ideally the town council, that leads on such an initiative. So you know, we're willing to try and help, but the street licensing policy is there for a very justifiable reason. Without it, and without the provisions that we put in place that reflect the nature of our district, we would be seeing a lot of issues potentially that would be of a concern to you as local members in your communities. So I think there's a better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. I've got a question for Councillor Blathwaite. The Cabinet report later in these papers highlights the benefit of retaining staff in the Coastwise team. Has any progress been made?
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. Yes, full council is asked tonight to ratify the extension of the team's contracts as presented to the Cabinet. There has also been recruitment of a new team leader for Coastwise. This has been filled from within the team. So congratulations to the officer who has been successful. The recently advertised Coastal Adaptation Project Enabler post received significant interest and a high calibre of candidates. Due to the officer stepping up, we have agreed to recruit 2 enablers to take forward key actions identified in the community transition plans and other key aspects of the programme. If asked, this could include the example of cliff access, taking forward challenging graveyard discussions, highways, property level resilience and drainage actions, and many more subjects. I hope this helps. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Butikofer.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman. And could I just say my condolences, send my condolences to Mr. Stockton's family. I had the pleasure of working with him, and he was a coastal member, which I want to ask Councillor Blathwaite about, actually. I just wondered whether you got an update on the potential for the RFCC contribution on as outlined in your report, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can I actually associate myself to your remarks regarding Councillor Stockton? Clive was a great friend to everybody who has anything to do with the coast, and he will be greatly missed. Yeah, thank you. That's a really timely question. NNDC, on behalf of ourselves and Great Yarmouth Borough Council and East Suffolk Council, submitted a request for a 10% contribution up to 1.2 million to the RFCC. This is the Regional Flood and Coast Committee. And this was presented by an NDC officer representing all councils, at the meeting last Friday. At the meeting, it was confirmed the RFCC local levy could afford the request, and the RFCC agreed to the request. This is a large step forward towards the Advanced Coastal Adaptation Pilot funding, which for Norfolk and Suffolk could be 10 million to 12 million pounds. Thank you for your question.
Councillor Penfold.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I'm sure you know, Mr. Chairman, as do all members, it is the mighty Worsted Festival this weekend. Now, I may well have asked a similar question last year to Councillor Withington and quite possibly the year before that as well. But I'm going to ask it nonetheless. Councillor Withington, would you agree with me that a visit to the Worsted Festival represents the best day out in North Norfolk? Quite possibly the best day out in the whole of Norfolk. Thank you.
Well, you've disappointed me, Councillor Penfold. With your literary background, I was really hoping for some really good W alliterations rather than the mighty Worsted.
I can save that for next year's question.
Gives you great delight and something to look forward to. So yes, of course, I wish everybody well for the Worsted Festival this weekend. And yes, you know, I'm sure it will be a fantastic event for everybody that goes, and a huge miss out and lots of FOMO for those people that don't get to go. However, as I said to you last year, I think there are other events that are, you know, challenging Worsted, with Sheringham 40s, Cromer Carnival, and Stalham is very much bringing up and racing up the events league with all their events that we've heard some about this evening from Councillor Bayes. So whether I can quite give you that accolade of the best day out in Norfolk yet, I think we'll have to have a look at the figures afterwards. But yeah, you can ask me again next year. But there is an important point behind your question, actually. These events, and Councillor Bayes referred to this as well, these events are vital for bringing people into our area and, you know, helping with our local tourism economy. But they are a huge showcase, whether it's in Stalham or Cromer or Sheringham or Worsted or lots of the other villages where things are, you know, happening all over, not just the summer, but all year round. And they really are important events. And it's great to see communities getting behind these events and pulling them together, because there's a huge amount of work that goes into them. And so, you know, please pass on my best wishes and our thanks to everybody that's involved in this. And I hope everyone has sunshine and a wonderful day, or weekend even.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may just come back and thank Councillor Withington for that. These events are critical to our local communities as well, providing a sense of real identity and belonging. And I should have said it's the 60th anniversary this year of the Worsted Festival. So that just goes to show how important it is to our rural life. And it's raised millions of pounds over the years for local charities as well. So, you know, congratulations to everyone who's been involved over such a length of time. Thank you.
Quite right.
As it is 60 years, I'll let you off, and I'll let you have the best event in Norfolk.
Good. No, thank you. Councillor Heinrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Councillor Ringer. Last year, North Norfolk took part in a trial collecting films and flexible plastics. Can he give me an update on when this will be rolled out more widely? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, we're one of the Norfolk authorities that took part in a trial to collect films and flexible plastics. So for those of you who don't know, that is typically the things that say, please recycle with carrier bags in the supermarket. And government had previously indicated through its simpler recycling legislation that we would have to, all local authorities would have to collect that in their waste, recycling waste from 2028. They have now actually delayed that to 2030, which is disappointing on some levels, because obviously we want to ensure that we recycle as much as possible. But it does give an opportunity for our material recovery facility, or the county's material recovery facility, to upgrade to be able to handle that waste. There was some concern that they wouldn't be able to do that in the timeframe that had been set out. So we don't expect, I suppose, to see the collection of those items now until the successor authority will come through. But I would obviously like to encourage everybody to continue to take those products to supermarkets to recycle. It's really important not to put them in the general waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to send my condolences to Councillor Stockton's family, but also on the other hand, happier news. I'd like to congratulate our new member for Suffield Park, Councillor Ragg, on his recent election. My question is for Councillor Liz Withington. It's great to hear the positive support being provided to vulnerable people by the community outreach team. I just wonder what the future of this service is and how we can sort of improve it further and support our residents even more.
Thank you for your question and for highlighting about the community outreach officers and the team. But I think what needs highlighting as well is that the community outreach officers are also part of a wider holistic service. And it's very much a partnership approach, which makes this council's response so effective to our vulnerable people. We have the early prevention hub, the financial inclusion officers, we have an excellent housing team, and our people services. They all link together really well, working together. But also they are, and you can see it in my report this month as well, they are also widening their connections with wider partners. So that all helps in supporting our residents, in maximising the income that they can get access to, which obviously helps with debt, and also reducing homelessness, because you tackle incomes and budgets and those kind of things, and you reduce the risk of homelessness. There aren't any immediately planned changes to this work at the moment. However, it remains subject to ongoing reviews of people services as we move through with budgets, etc. And should the council reach a position where it can no longer fund dedicated community outreach posts, this would not necessarily mean that outreach activity would cease, but rather we'd have to look at how we transition to a different operating model, so that the council would need to identify the essential outreach functions and determine how these would be delivered through existing teams, strengthening referral, escalation and partnership arrangements. But that reflects the importance we place on having that whole holistic approach that means we can actually get down onto the ground, so to speak, and be in contact with people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holliday.
Thanks, Chair. This is for Councillor Brown. We have some historic planning enforcement applications that are going back to 2014. And I wondered why aren't the older ones being prioritised for decision, and is there a capacity issue?
Thank you, Councillor Holliday, for your question. I'm not aware of any planning applications that are as long in the tooth as that, but I'm sure that your due diligence.
It's sorry, enforcement. It's in your report.
Enforcement. Yeah, sorry. There are a number of enforcement cases which are historic for reasons of particular circumstances applicable to them. We have or have had a slight capacity problem, but we've overcome that. We've had a recent drive to close a lot of enforcement cases down, but I can assure you that the historic enforcement cases are considered on a regular basis by senior officers in the council on the enforcement board. And I can assure you that if they do go back that long, there is an extremely good reason for it. I'm not going to go into any individual cases that I'm aware of here and now, but I can assure you that they are not being neglected. And they are there for a reason. We get all sorts of challenges to our enforcement cases. Believe you me, so some of the circumstances are extremely challenging, and I would imagine the cases you are referring to are exactly that type of enforcement case.
Thank you. Councillor Porter.
Sorry, thought I was loud enough. Councillor Shires, how many traffic wardens do we actually have covering the whole of North Norfolk?
For off-street parking,
No, on-street parking.
that would fall under the county council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, it's a similar question, but it's actually about the enforcement of parking, and it's really to Councillor Adams as portfolio holder for external partnerships, and it relates to the Norfolk strategic parking partnership, and it's the lack of regular enforcement in rural villages, particularly ones with reasonable tourism footfall. Certainly, I'll particularize with Walsingham. I get regular complaints. The high street, they turn up on a regular basis, always before 12 o'clock, where they can pick up people on a few loading bays, and then they're not to be seen again for another month. I think we need it to really beef up the number of times they turn up. I know it's delegated to Kings Lynn Borough Council, but we really need to get more of a grip on that on busy times. I'm thinking for fire engines and ambulances coming down narrow high streets.
If I've understood the question correctly, you're asking what we can do to ensure that some of the other visitor destinations are getting the attention that they need around on-street parking enforcement, which is not a responsibility of this council. You are aware of the Norfolk Parking Partnership, but we are at best an observer member there. We're not a voting member. We have raised such concerns in previous years, familiar, of course, around the issues in Wells. I haven't been made aware of issues in Walsingham before. I should say Councillor Shires is the appointed observer member to the parking partnership, and I'm the substitute. But there's not generally a lot of ability for us to make such interventions at the committee. That said, we have done so on previous occasions. So ultimately, this is a responsibility of the county council. So I would suggest that the local members engage with the county councillors and the county council and Kings Lynn as the body that carries the enforcement out on behalf of the county council on your local enforcement needs. I appreciate there are some big gaps in the provision. Yeah, I would love to be able to help you out more. And if you give me some specific examples or road names, Councillor Shires and I will certainly try to do that. But I'm afraid it's not within our gift to do so, much as I would like it to be.
Thank you. Councillor Wragg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope you don't mind me taking a few moments to thank the residents of Suffield Park
for the opportunity to speak in this chamber on their behalf. I'd also like to thank yourself, the other members, and the fantastic officers at NNDC for the warm welcome they've given me. The last 2 weeks have genuinely been the smoothest 2 weeks I think I've ever experienced in a new role. And so I'd like to thank them. My question is just for Councillor Brown. I'm wondering if we could have an update in regards to the development and progress on the local plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ragg, for your what I believe is your maiden question, and also welcome to you to your seat in this chamber, as they sometimes say down in Parliament. And I'm sure that the residents of Suffield Park will be very welcoming of your achievement and your electoral success. As regards the local plan, we are on track, having served notice at the end of June that as we are required to, if we're going to review, and we are reviewing, so we've started that off. We've already had one call for sites, which started in, I think, at the beginning of June, and went slightly into July, and we've had a very good response, about 200 responses from local landowners offering sites for various purposes. And we've now kicked off the second call for sites earlier this week, in fact, which will run till the end of August, concurrently with what we call a scoping consultation, which is basically asking for the public and stakeholders for what they think they would like to see in our local plan, our next local plan, which will kick in probably in 2029. We are required to complete it within 30 months or so. And that is running to the end of August as well, along with our second scoping, our second site call for sites consultation with the public. We've had a successful bout of recruitment, which includes, amongst other posts, the planning policy manager and a senior planning policy officer. And for good measure, we're also looking at our North Norfolk District Design Guide, which I think was last written in, memory serves, 2011, some time ago, which needs therefore updating. And we're also undertaking a landscape survey review to make sure that the areas that we've previously identified as undeveloped coast areas are accurate in terms of their designation, which will also be recorded in the next local plan. So I'm really pleased to report that at the moment we are making expected and quite significant progress, but I wouldn't expect anything else of our extremely efficient planning policy team. I hope that answers your question, Councillor Ragg.
Thank you all. Swiftly moving on to item number 11, recommendations from the Cabinet meeting held on the 6th of July 2026. For the first item, I will go to Councillor Lucy Shires to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to echo comments made about Dr. Clive Stockton, who, when I was brand newly elected, took me under his wing and shared vast knowledge of the coast. And that will be greatly missed by all. So my condolences to his family, and also to welcome Tyler Ragg to the chamber. Congratulations. I'll move on to the outturn report. Apologies to those of you that will be hearing this for the third time, Councillor Cushing and Councillor Holliday. Thank you for your patience with it. There's a couple of things that I would just like to highlight ahead of this. The one that would be most important, I would like to just, it was noted in my report, but to highlight it here, that for the first time, I believe in 4 years, we were able to publish our statement of accounts, which is a great testament to the team and the journey that we have been on as a local authority and the finance team specifically. So I would like to thank the GRAP committee specifically for supporting us in keeping on track, as well as the overview and scrutiny committee, and that will always be the case. We have a good working relationship and we're all very focused on what we need to achieve. So thank you to everybody involved. The first thing that I would just like to mention is on the agenda papers, the recommendation C, that is the recommendation that came from Cabinet, and members of Overview and Scrutiny Committee will note that that recommendation had changed for their papers. So if you turn to page 99 of the paper pack, recommendation C rightly states that the surplus will be transferred to the new burdens reserve. The new burdens reserve is there to highlight the money that we are putting to one side for the new burdens that the government impose upon us. One of those is obviously food waste, of which we're all aware of. And the other that has been mentioned today, which is local government reorganisation. The government quite often asks us to do things and either severely underfunds us to do it or doesn't offer us any funding at all. The other point that I would like to make with that regard is recommendation D, where the balance of the general reserve is higher than one we would normally carry. The reason for this is following the previous outturn report and subsequently the reallocation of the fund that I always forget the name of, the Extended Responsibility Producer Fund. Yes, Extended Producer Responsibility Fund. I always get the words mulled up. So we had in period 10 put that in the general reserve. We transferred money into the revenue account, and then the unspent money from the actual, I'll reword that slightly differently. We had put that money in a reserve because we were currently unsure of the expenditure of it. When we were fully aware of what we were spending that on following guidance, we were able to transfer allocated funds out of the revenue budget into the reserve. So the money from that, the surplus money from that, will be transferred into the new burdens reserve in period 4. The other point that I wanted to make within this report is where we have on page 115, you will see that the roll forward for the Fakenham 3G facility is noted there. In the capital programme that was previously known as the North Walsham / Fakenham 3G facility, because Fakenham is moving forward at a slightly faster pace towards completion almost, we are reallocating that specifically to Fakenham. This is a note to members that there may be an item that comes forward requesting a reserve, a capital budget for a facility in North Walsham. So we had always stated that that would be transferable between both. I will take any questions on that before I move on to the debt recovery.
Any questions from members on that? No. I assume we're happy to take these on block. Yeah.
I'm happy to take the finance items on.
Just no, all of the
raw.
recommendations just on under the first recommendation, just
Yeah,
take A2.
I'm happy to take those on block.
Fine. Do I have a proposal? Councillor Shires, seconder. Councillor Beattie, and all in favour. The second recommendation from Cabinet, I will once again return to Councillor Lucy Shires.
Thank you very much. So before I go into the depths of this item, I would just like to echo what Councillor Withington had said earlier about the support offered by this council to those who find themselves in financial difficulty. There are two parts to this. One in that we welcome people contacting the council as soon as they realise they're either in difficulty with their council tax payments or their business rates payments. We do have a team of people who are here to help and make sure that everybody is getting the support financially that they are open to receive. So please do come forward if you are finding yourself in financial difficulty. That said, I want to celebrate the revenues team for their collection rates. Once again, we have finished top 4 collection rates across Norfolk in both business rates and council tax, which is something to really, really look to the team for the standard that they're setting across Norfolk. It doesn't just stop at Norfolk. We finished 2nd in the Eastern region for business rates collection and 4th for council tax out of 45 councils, again setting a very high standard. And when we look to the national picture, out of 295 councils, we finished 11th for business rates collection and 14th for council tax nationally. So a huge thank you to the revenues team who keep this council financially running with very, very good collection rates. Again, apologies to those who have had this paper now for the 3rd time, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from members? Nope. In that case, could I have a proposal, please? Councillor Shires, seconder, Councillor Beattie, and all those in favour. Unanimous. Unanimous. Thank you. 3rd recommendation from Cabinet, we will go to Councillor Harry Blathwaite.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is regarding the coastal adaptation pilot. From my questions and my answers earlier in the evening, the good news is that the Regional Flood and Coast have agreed for taking away the jeopardy that was slightly there when I presented this to Cabinet. So we no longer have that jeopardy. We have assurance that we can go ahead. The leader, when this was presented to Cabinet with that jeopardy, said this is a no-brainer. And I agree totally. It is a no-brainer. I thank the Regional Flood and Coast Committee for their kindness and generosity in agreeing to this funding. And I can only say, please accept this, this movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions from members on this point? Nope. In that case, could I have a proposer? Councillor Blathwaite, seconder, Councillor Brown, all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. And then to the last recommendation from Cabinet, I will go to Councillor Andrew Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think actually this has already been covered by the leader's remarks or announcements under agenda item 8 as regards the constitution or membership identity of the new conservation and local plan task group, and as regards changes to the constitution to give full effect to that, I think we have an agenda item later on in the papers where I will perhaps say a little bit more about that, but I heartily recommend these proposals to the council tonight, and I will propose if I'm allowed to.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We will accept your proposal. No one wants to speak on this? No, fine. Councillor Rao, seconder. All those in favour, please. Unanimous. Thank you all so much. Right. Item number 12, recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 15th of July. Councillor Victoria Holiday.
Thank you, Chair. The Overview and Scrutiny Committee had no changes to make on items 1 and 2 above that we've just ratified. But on the housing benefit debt recovery, we had a very minor change to the recommendations that you'll find on page 207 of your agenda pack. And we had a very small amendment to recommendation 4, which was to support the implementation of future recovery strategies. And we wished to add a phrase emphasizing the importance of prevention rather than just management of housing benefit debt. So we wanted to add to number 4, to support the implementation of future recovery strategies, with a new paragraph being added to the strategic approach to identify the preventative approach taken. So it's just a a small nuance towards prevention rather than cure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anyone want to make any comment on this? Nope. Can I have a proposer to accept the recommendation? Councillor Day, seconder, please. Councillor Hankins, sorry, Councillor Hankins, my mind went blank there. Councillor Hankins and all those in favour. That is unanimous. Thank you. Item number 13, recommendations from the Licensing Committee held on the 8th of July 2026. For this, I will go to Councillor Connor Rouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Licensing Committee puts forward the following recommendation from the meeting on the 8th of July. The adoption of the revised statement of licensing policy for the years 2026 to 2031 and delegates authority to the Assistant Director of Environment and Leisure in consultation with the portfolio holder and chair of the Licensing Committee to make any final minor amendments required for accuracy, formatting, accessibility of legal consistency before publication. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any comments? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to congratulate the licensing members for coming to this conclusion, but also to congratulate the officers who have done again another sterling job on this. There's been a great body of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have a proposer to accept the recommendation? Councillor Fisher, seconder, Councillor Whittington. All those in favour, please. Councillor, please. Unanimous. We'll let you off as it's your birthday. There you go. Thank you. Item number 14, recommendations from the Constitution Working Party meeting held on the 30th of June. Councillor Adam Farley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank all members who participated in the discussions of our recent Working Party meeting. It was very useful having the Cabinet Member for Planning and the Development Committee Chairman there to go through aspects relating to the new changes as being set out by central government. Members can see the detail in the report, but this council needs to reflect the necessary government changes within our constitution. Although we had a long discussion about the concerns these mandatory changes will bring to the democracy and transparency of the planning process for our communities, it is important that we progress this. And you'll note the following within the report: the Working Party's strong reluctance to support the required changes to the Constitution, with members noting that failing to accept them would leave the Council open to judicial review. So it's with that, members, that I therefore propose that we accept the recommendation. Also, Mr. Chairman, the Working Party discussed the amendments to motions, ensuring that this makes it more robust. Thank you.
Does anyone want to make any comments? Councillor Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to really start by congratulating the Constitution Working Party on the second point that Councillor Varley has just made there in his condemnation of this change. I listened to our new Prime Minister saying he's all for giving power to the people. This is absolutely nothing of the sort. This is taking power away from people and putting it into the hands of unelected officials. And I mean, nothing against any of the officers who have to work on this, but means they have to decide these planning applications simply based on the rules in front of them. Now, often when I've been to the planning committee, you hear the phrase, this is a finely balanced decision, which I always interpret as being, rules say we've got to decide it one way, common sense probably it dictates you might want to decide it somewhere else. But that decision is now taken away from local members. It absolutely emasculates local democracy in the same way that local government reform does as well, by removing half the elected councillors in this county. So I will have to reluctantly vote for it, holding my nose. We have no choice, as Councillor Varley has explained, but it is absolutely appalling. It will be appalling for all of our residents too. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to back up what's been said already. At the party, it was me that suggested the resolution. You know, I've been a member of this council for 15 years. All that time, there's been ongoing at one time or another, either adopting the previous local plan, amending the new one as we come into the cycle, and all the rest of it. And this actually does take away a lot of the work's done on that, making a local plan local. But we've no choice to do that. But I think every member of the committee made it very clear that we did it reluctantly, and we presented to this council reluctantly as well.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to echo Councillor Cushing's comments. Thank you.
Thank you all. We're going to take these two separate items. We're going to take these items separately. So can I have a proposer for the first item, item 5, please?
It is obviously reluctantly, Mr. Chairman, but yes.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Varley. Seconder, Councillor Brown. All those in favour? Unanimous. I know you touched on this second item here, Councillor Varley. Is there anything else you want to add? No. You happy to propose? Councillor Varley proposing. Seconder, please, Councillor Shires. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you all. Right, item 17, questions from members, none received. So now we will go to item 18, the opposition business. I'm so sorry. We were doing so well. There we go. That's my papers being in a muddle there. Snuck at the bottom, there we go. Item 15, electoral services increase to establishment. I will go to Councillor Tim Adams to introduce.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So the paper is self-explanatory, given the increased pressures observed and expected in this space. And we are seeing here a modest increase in capacity at a cost of around £4,300. There's no other options are realistic. So I propose acceptance of option 2. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Does anyone want to make any comment on this? No. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shires, and all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Right, now to item 17. Questions from members, none received. And now to item 18, opposition business motion. I will go to Councillor Nigel Dixon to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was quite ready to actually go at your earlier attempt to get me on, but I'll get started now. Thank you. I have to say that yes, I'm responsible for this this motion this evening, but I'm not responsible for the very long and prolonged period of drought about which this motion is focused on. So I'll cut to the quick of it, I think. You can read the motion just as easily as I can. So what I'm going to say now, hopefully, will add to what's already in front of you. The strategic objectives in our new local plan include climate resilience. In fact, it's listed as the first of 3 key strategic focus areas. So what does that mean? Well, it clearly puts climate change as a high priority, And we already have a strong strand of work around carbon footprint reductions and net zero, etc. But resilience is about capacity to deal with the shocks of extremes, and water is an existential resource that we see increasingly extremes in its availability. Prolonged periods of little or no rainfall and increasing temperatures causing drought. And heavier and prolonged rainfall causes floods. Amongst all of that, and amongst all that, little is said or done to recognise or relieve water cycle stress. And part of this motion is about understanding how we can manage water resources more efficiently and to anticipate and mitigate the impact of climate extremes, especially surface water flooding problems, and the impact of drought on the environment, food production, and quality of life. Hence this motion. It supports our current climate change agenda. In fact, it adds width and depth to it by placing water as a key priority alongside that of carbon. In simple terms, this is about capturing and storing water during times of prolonged heavy rainfall or times of high river levels and flood risk conditions, for that to be released and used during drier times. Most of this is quite basic. It's basic SUDS-related work, requiring that's SUDS from those who may not be familiar with it. It's about sustainable drainage systems. So the related work requires modest investment during building or retrofitting, and in some cases there are financial incentives like reduced water rates or grants from Anglian Water and even from the Flood Authority funded schemes. If we capture and manage the rainfall in our area, we would largely solve current surface water problems and avoid the most pressing of problems of water shortages. And in that, this council could be a local leader and influencer, as it has on carbon footprint reduction. Mr. Chairman, I invite discussion of the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe, Councillor Fitzpatrick, you are seconding. Do you reserve your right to speak?
I would like to reserve my right to speak at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. We will then go to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Adams, who has a right to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got no wish to respond directly. I will allow other members to engage in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. First hand I saw was Councillor Punchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Councillor Dixon, to bringing this motion. I don't just see this around the hydraulic cycle of shortage of water, but we tend to see polar extremes in this county, not only when we're short of water in the summer times, but in the winter times we are experiencing flooding, and the work that we can do as a council to support residents in terms of where that water goes, as we do have a fascination in this country with tarmac and all different types of drives and things nowadays, and the water tends to build up. So I think this motion would go further. I don't intend to amend it or propose any amendments, but the fact that it would support excess water as well as when we're short of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Farley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I want to thank my opposition colleagues for bringing this forward tonight. It's actually good to see something from the opposition which is conscious of climate change and the related implications. And also thank you to the member for his positive comments on what NNDC is doing in regards of carbon. As I'm sure members are aware, I mentioned this more recently in my written response to the members' full council question. NNDC is not the responsible authority for most of the detailing within the opposition business. However, we do engage fully and do extensive work as part of the planning policy planning process, notably the local plan as stated. I'm sure my colleague Councillor Brown will go through this in greater detail and what additional aspects we could achieve. We engage with external partners, notably Anglian Water and the Environment Agency. We are a partner on the Norfolk Strategic Flooding Alliance. Both officers and elected members attend this. Focusing on the opposition business now, Mr. Chairman, I do feel there is a lack of concise detailing on progressive actions. However, I am more than happy to support this and do endorse it to my colleagues. There's actually a fair amount of scope in which we can progress this. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fitch-Tillett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very interesting word somebody came up with. I think it might have been yourself, and that is influencer. Now, I spent 2 years living in East Africa, so I know what it's like to be without water from time to time. Yes, I survived through 1976, where we had to bath with a friend. But this, I think, is more serious. I really do. In 1976, we did not have to stop water skiing on the Anglian Water Lake that we rent. Last week, we had to stop because if we kept going on it, we would actually ding the prop, to use a technical term. We have lost a metre in that lake in the last 3 weeks. Now, one of the good things about this is the fact that because it's been dry, my cliffs are not going to be washed onto the beach yet. But you can guarantee that we will probably get some fairly torrential rain to top it up. And guess what? The cliffs will be on the beach. Now, influencer. I have always had water butts connected to my downpipes. Does everybody else do that? Right, well, I've got 6 of them, so I'm getting to the bottom now, I have to say, and only water my pots, not the whole garden. But I only flush the loo when I need to. Sorry, that's a bit basic, but, you know, just think about what you are doing. Don't let the tap run down. Have a bowl underneath it and use it to rinse things out afterwards. Just think about how you are using water and influence all your parishes to do the same. I'll leave it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was watching the kissing of hands ceremony going on the other day, I noticed that the rear of Buckingham Palace was parched, unlike the lush green grass that I'd walked on only a couple of months ago. And it was just moments after that I was carrying my washing up bowl out onto the garden to just spread it out onto my plants. And I thought, I wonder if those occupants at Buckingham Palace are doing the same. They obviously weren't. And so if we could influence them in any way, that would be really good. But I noticed item number 4, and the wording of that, which says promoting surface water infiltration of drives and garden surfaces and drains to prevent runoff and help replenish. And I think legislation is probably in place in the form of the Highways Act 1991, which I believe gives the county the ability to ensure that water is not discharged onto the highway, is in place already. And I wonder how many other things are there already in place with this motion in mind.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Blathwaite.
Yeah, I would just like to congratulate everybody in this chamber for embracing the fact we have a climate emergency. And that is without doubt to be true. And we have, I remember at a meeting at the height of the floods, a member of the Water Management Alliance said, if you think this is bad, wait till you get a drought. And he's proving to be absolutely right. I recommend everybody, and I agree with everybody, that we should make every effort, and our residents should make every effort in recognition of us being the driest area in the country to save water and use it wisely. It is a precious resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holiday.
Thanks, Chair. We really need to do all in our powers and that of the authority to save water, reuse it and reduce surface water runoff. I think we really must expedite approval of reservoirs to capture rain when it comes and allow for irrigation when it doesn't. This really must be emphasised in the new local plan, as must policies increasing rainwater capture and grey water use and promoting surface water infiltration of drives and garden services. We really have to be as strong as we possibly can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Rouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the opposition for bringing this very important topic to conversation. We have had over the last 4 or 5 years multiple, heat waves 2 or 3 times a year. It's becoming increasingly more regular. It is something that we need to do something about. It's an incredibly important issue, the climate, the preservation of our climate, and the water shortages, whatever we can do to preserve our water. It's incredibly important that we try and explore every avenue that we can. I do wonder if the motions put in place really have legs, because a lot of this is covered by other bodies, covered by Anglian Water, covered by the County Council. Perhaps we could work with the opposition to try and really just give this legs and try and do all that we can to preserve our water supplies. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fredericks.
Thank you, Chair. We were talking about being influencers. Well, I'd like to influence the fact that Anglian Water have on their website a page which deals with this and information to the public. So it would be a good idea if we were to highlight that tonight to our residents to show them how they could actually help with the stress of water restrictions. So it's all there, and I can send that to our comms team to put that out there. At a recent meeting with Anglian Water, they were talking about this as well. We have quarterly meetings with Anglian Water to discuss things like that. So yes, we are doing a lot of the work unseen with Anglian Water, but there is a page about this to inform the public.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Vickers.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm really heartened to see how everybody in the chamber is taking this motion very, very seriously, because water is the liquid of life. Councillor Rouse wants to give it legs, and I think we could do that through the planning system. I think we need to think very carefully and very deeply about what we can do, perhaps fast-tracking reservoir applications. There is a shortage of water storage, and looking at what we can do with new builds and redeveloped builds to introduce water-saving measures. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Dixon on his excellent motion. I read recently a report by a body called the Rural Policy Group, and the report was on water, food and economic growth, which apparently was launched at the Norfolk show. And so lots of really interesting statistics in there, and actually highlighting how important, as we all know, agriculture sector is to the Norfolk economy, and that is all dependent on water. And we really need to do more. The point of this motion is to try and highlight the issue of water retention. We have madness locally. If you look at the Fens, for example, during winter, we spend huge amount of effort trying to expel millions of cubic litres of excess water into the Wash. Then we spend all the summer or over in that part of the world trying to find water in order to irrigate their crops. I go back to February of this year, when we had a lot of rainfall, and I remember walking around local areas thinking, the ground I've never seen the ground more saturated. That same ground now is hard as iron. I know local farmers are getting very poor yields on their crop as well as a consequence for the recent drought that we have actually had. So this motion is really about what we can do in order, as one of the key influences in North Norfolk, to highlight this issue to the regulatory bodies and also to residents. Mention's been made of water butts, something you'd encourage. I don't think I'll be encouraging people to share a bath with me. It'd have to be a very short person indeed in order to take up most of the bath. So I think we'll park that one if we may, Councillor Fitch-Tillett. No, but I would do look at that. I mean, we've had recent campaigns about getting people to coach to use solar panels, which is fine and good, but I think we just need to think about what we can do on the waterfront as well, which will help everyone. Okay. Thank you very much.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do welcome this item of opposition business from Councillor Dixon. It's a bit of a mixed bag, actually. However, in terms of water storage for agricultural use, I have the Study Estate within my ward, and I visited the Study Estate recently with Councillor Toy. And we witnessed the makings of a third reservoir. And I think members who attend the planning committee will realise that reservoirs tend to be the subject of planning applications to the county council as infrastructure projects, as indeed the ones on the Study Estate were all granted by the county council. So that wouldn't necessarily come within our remit in our local plan. That said, we know how vital it is for farmers to stock their water storage facilities using their abstraction licenses during winter rainfall, as indeed Study Estate does, to give you an example from the River Glaven, because they're not allowed to during the summer months for obvious reasons. As regards domestic consumption, the lead on this will be actually by our building regulation department, because the future fabric system or requirements under building regs legislation does provide for water retention management facilities and storage in new built properties, for example, under Part G of the building regs, as it's known as. So that's for new builds. As regards existing properties, Councillor Fredericks is absolutely right. Anglian Water do a lot of comms on that. I'm not sure that they put it when they send their regular bills to me through the post, as perhaps they should do. But really, what we need to do is to recognise that there is a climate emergency, and I'm extremely proud that back in 2019, one of the first things this administration did was to declare a climate change emergency. And if memory serves, we were actually the first district council in the county to do so. And if it was true then, it's even truer today. So we do all need to work together to make the best use of our precious resource. And I just regret that a certain administration in the 1980s privatised water and didn't make it any easier for us to manage it. And if the new Prime Minister is seriously looking at either nationalising it or bringing in a hybrid model like they have in nearly every other European country, incidentally, I would wholeheartedly support it.
Thank you, councillor. We've got 10 minutes left of the main debate session. I've got 5 councillors left on my list. So if we try and keep it to about 2 minutes, councillor, that would be fantastic. Councillor Withington.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to compliment everybody here this evening. It's wonderful to hear people so in unison and on message about climate change. That is fantastic. Unlike in the, shall we say, the other place, as they say in Parliament, where yesterday we were told quite clearly that climate change doesn't exist. So to be in this place tonight is very refreshing. As is with the quality of debate, this is an opposition motion, but I'm really pleased that we can all sit together and work together on this and work. And our questioning this evening has been very collaborative. So it is a pleasure to be here. And on that note, I wanted to pick up on what Councillor Frederick has said about Anglian Water, but I think as individual councillors, we have a really important role to play on that. So please do help get those messages out as well as our comms team. And as local councillors, we are in touch with our businesses who, many of those we will know where they have particular water issues or high consumptions issues. And I think it's really important as individual councillors, we can be directing them to the economic development team and looking at biodiversity plans, etc., that could help them to find solutions for those water demands. So I do think as individuals we can have a role to play there. And riparian rights is something that I've had to deal with quite a lot in Sheringham because we've got a lot of becks that run under roads and all sorts of things that cause us problems. I think it'd be really good if the Lead Flood Alliance could do some work on that in highlighting the importance of how it is the individual householder, landowner, etc. responsibility and getting some kind of advice out. So our reps on there, I think that'd be something that they could highlight on there. That would be really good. Digging out ditches is really, really important and not often done till it's too late. So those would be my comments, and welcome this, Councillor Dixon, that we're having this important conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shires.
Thank you. 1976, that's the second time in 2 days I've heard that mentioned. Once here and once in the other place, as Councillor Withington so wonderfully called it. Apparently in the other place there have been 2 significant changes noticed in climate. One is 1976 and the other was the Ice Age. So I'm extremely delighted that we are all sat here in unison, actually looking to our residents and what is necessary for them. My plea is going to be for the Twin Hatters in the room. If we are going to get a working relationship with the County Council, please can we all focus on making sure that happens when we are over at County Hall. Thank you to the opposition for bringing this important business to us, and I too have welcomed the constructive debate.
Thank you. Fantastic on the time, and that was spot on. Councillor Ringer.
Thank you. I'll be brief as well. I wasn't actually intending to talk about this, but I'm a geographer and I couldn't resist. I welcome the opportunity and I've really enjoyed listening to everybody talking. And I wanted to actually talk about something good and positive and pay tribute to the Norfolk Ponds project and Professor Carl Sayer in particular of Bodham and the fantastic work they have done restoring ponds in farmland, Bodham Marl Pit. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to talk about that in here, and places like that where fantastic oases for wildlife, and in a drought it's probably really where they're all congregating at the moment, all sorts of different things. And when we talk about reinstating field boundary ditches and green infiltration, actually restoring ghost ponds is a really important thing that we can promote and is going on in North Norfolk. And thanks to those guys who work really hard and with local landowners to do that. And actually so many of the solutions to these are about working with nature. It doesn't always have to be heavy engineering. You know, the whole concept of slowing the flow. You know, in the Norfolk Rivers Trust have got beavers between Bodham and Baconsthorpe. And that's fascinating. I've been around to have a look, and the sort of geoengineering that they have managed to do themselves is really, really, really important work. Hopefully, as part of this and these discussions, we can make sure that we work with Mother Nature and not against her.
Thank you. Councillor Penfold.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, certainly support and endorse pretty much all of the comments that have been made this evening, except the sharing of baths. So support to Councillor Cushing on that one. He did refer to solar panels, and Councillor Brown has also alluded to that wider picture. We're talking about here the consequences of climate change and how we might mitigate those effects. But of course, it's hugely important that we look at the climate emergency in that bigger picture and what we can do as individuals and collectively to, for example, bring down our carbon footprint. Because unless we do that, then we'll be talking about these effects and how much worse they'll be getting in the longer term. So I would urge us all to think about that and how we can advocate in our communities about the work this council is doing as a collective to tackle the climate emergency itself. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Gray.
I'll be fast, I promise. Totally support what everyone's saying. It's great to hear all of this stuff. One thing to bear in mind here, though, is the amount of waste that Anglian Water are responsible for. They tell us as the public, please conserve the water, save the water. Where are they? Loving every drop. 180 million tonnes wasted by their leaks. That's a shame. And with that, can we move to the vote?
Thank you very much. Well, just before the vote, we must go to the seconder of the motion, Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Right, thank you. I'm very happy to second this. In winter, it's very much a case of water everywhere in this county. And then we're in the summer, and as Coleridge would say, nor any drop to drink. And we excessively wet winters and then hosepipe bans. And I think everyone has come across that everyone agrees that water is very much the key to life, and we're definitely all in agreement. I think, but this is about the importance of the local water cycle. It's not just someone else's problem, it's our problem. We're the ones that are affected. We're the ones that need to look for the solutions. We work together with others to play a part. And think of farmers, think of diversification in farming. As summers have got warmer, farmers have been asked to diversify. And round me in Norfolk, there are award-winning vineyards and so on as the temperature's gone up. But actually the grape crop has not been exactly good this year because of the lack of water. So even diversified farming is being adversely affected. But we need to embed solutions in our planning. We need to look at things like impermeable drives and discourage them wherever possible. Things like using grey water. There was a great 20 years ago, there were all sorts of proposals, use grey water. The stuff that comes out of baths and all the rest of it could be used for flushing toilets and so on. And that's just something that's disappeared. And that's something we should actually be encouraging into it, finding ways of facilitating that. Encouraging people to use water butts where they've got water running off roofs and store it. I say it's not just about leaving things to others. It's, yes, Anglian Water, provide water and take it away, but actually coming up with solutions like reservoirs, discouraging people from wasting water, discouraging people from leaving taps running, all that sort of stuff we can do. But I think definitely look at reservoirs and water capture, all that excessive water in winter, and then we don't have it in summer. Reservoirs do two things. They protect the amount, they reduce the amount running into rivers and stop the flooding problems, but also store it for the summer. So we have to do all that, but also the nub of the motion is to ensure appropriate water cycle stress reduction measures are embraced in local planning. Councillor Dixon brought that out, and other people have mentioned that, to ensure that effective liaison, facilitation, collective working with appropriate public and private sectors. It's not just Anglia's water as a problem, it's our problem. When there's no water, people can't use water. It's our problem. They just don't deliver it to us. We do without it. And but also the most important thing, I think, is to, the nub of the motion is to promote and support public awareness and remediation schemes to reduce that water cycle. Encourage everyone to do their bit. If you've got a big garden, big roofs, you can do so much and do it. So I'm very pleased to second this motion, and I hope everyone in this room will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Final word, Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm heartened by the comments that I've heard tonight, and it's really good to, I think, recognise that this matter is far too important to let any kind of party positions divide us. We have to work as a body, and I think we ought to be able to unite behind this motion. This motion is just the start of a piece of work that needs to be developed in detail. And if any of us, I think, in this chamber think that we've actually done enough, notwithstanding 6 water butts from Councillor Tillett, if anybody thinks that they've done everything, I would ask you to just look again and to see what else you might be able to do, because I think it's at grassroots that we can really make an impact. If we were able to multiply what we could do in this council chamber amongst all our residents, we would go a long way to solving the problem. Yes, at a corporate level, there is a much more a policy, a strategic issue to be developed and delivered. And I'm sure we're capable of doing that. We've done that to a very large extent with regard to carbon and the use of solar and solar PV and solar heating. And again, we're not the responsible body for that. There are others who have that primary statutory responsibility, but we are influencers. We can do that. And so I would encourage everybody to support this motion, and let's make this the first step on a journey to solve water shortages and flooding problems in North Norfolk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dixon. So we have our proposer, we have our seconder. Can I ask all those in favour of accepting the motion? That is unanimous. Thank you. Well, there is no notices of motion. There is no exclusion of the press or public, and there is no private business. So thank you all very much for your time tonight, and see you soon.